like it. You're getting the family back together.
Yeah, I'm trying. I think that's really important.
Yes, it is. And another question, fear. We talked about this a little bit on the phone, and what you had to do to overcome those fears of, going into business for yourself, approaching people, making yourself available, networking, all those things. How do you get past those fears? What do you personally do? I always ask my guests this because it's a big deal for people starting their own business or, wanting to do something outside of whatever traditional may be these days.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I really took it step by step. I was scared at first, and it's a big jump. It is, it's taking a risk, and it's not knowing what's going to be on the other side of that and what's going to happen. But again, for me, it's breaking it down into manageable steps.
Yes.
And things that, I could see. I decided to do, for instance, one of the things I did in the beginning was do 5 things per week for my business. So that was make a few phone calls, make an appointment with somebody, work on my website, anything that needed to be addressed business-wise. So at the end of the week, I felt like, I just got to check off 5 things. I did that. Look at that. I worked towards my business. I also brought the idea to SBA at first and said, what do you think of this?
Okay.
And I want you to tell me if I'm not up the right tree here. I want you to tell me if it sounds not feasible or anything. Am I really in a realm where this could work? Because I really wanted to have an expert who knew the business world.
And away from the emotion.
Right.
Who is a non-committed third party who's not a part of your life.
Right.
Okay.
And there's a lot of personal cooks. I'm not the first one.
Right.
This business was already started before I got into it. There's a lot of other people doing it. So what's going to make me different? That was a big thing of me figuring out, what makes me different? What can I bring to the table that people are going to respond to?
Right.
And SBA talked with me about branding and about, how to set yourself apart from other people. And, these are the things about you that you can bring when you talk to people on your website, the feel of your website, the feel of, when you talk in front of people or things like that, what you can bring. So all of that, once I had people say, that's a pretty good idea, got rid of some of that fear for me. Also having somebody, actually the first client I had, my first personal client, I was very nervous with her.
Of course.
And I had to make 5 meals. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if maybe I bit off more than I could chew. And she was absolutely lovely with me, but I had never been in her kitchen before. I wound up burning something in there. She had gone out and took her little daughter to the park, and she said, I'll be back, and I was cooking, and her oven was not calibrated properly.
Okay.
And so I burned something in there. So what I did was I took out what I had burned, and I made a batch of corn muffins, and I set them on the table so that when she came in, she smelled that.
Right.
And then I started on the second dish. When she came in, she said, my house never smells like this. It smells like corn muffins in here.
And you're like, yay.
And I'm like, yeah. So, and then I did a Spanish chicken dish for her, and I started making it. And I was frying, I was sauteing the chicken, and the whole house smelled like garlic and chicken and olive oil, which is never a bad thing.
That's right.
And she said, this reminds me of when my mom was here, when the baby was first born.
Aww.
And I went, I did it. That moment for me was really important because I connected with this person on a personal level and brought back a memory for her through my cooking, which was like the most awesome thing you can ever hope for the first time. And she wound up, she's a blogger, and she wound up writing a 2-page blog about me and the wonderful experience that she had with me in ordering. She Instagrammed all my food over the week that she ate it.
Right.
It was just a lovely experience. We're still friends. That was like a year ago. And she's just lovely. And it boosted my confidence in those 4 hours of really, it's that point where you got to step up your game.
Right.
And there's also the fear with stepping up your game. But once you get there and somebody says, hey, you know what? Good job.
Good job.
Okay, I could do this. And every time that happened, the next couple of clients, I was like, okay, I'm onto something here.
Right.
So it really is. I would recommend that people, even if do it for free. Even if you're thinking about doing something and you haven't really put your foot in the door yet, before you quit your job and before you take that risk,
Yes.
do it for free.
Right.
Do it one time, see how it feels.
See if you really still like it.
See if you really like it. Because
Right.
when it's not about the money so
Right.
much, you got to break that down too.
Yes.
Is it what you want to do? If I didn't get paid, would I still want to cook? Yes.
Yes.
Every day. So find out if you like it. That's a great way to do it. I've done free meals. I did a lot of free meals in the beginning.
Right.
I brought things over to people and just say, here, taste this, and that's a way to figure it out. How does that make you feel? Are you getting something out of that?
Right.
So that was a big fear stepper over for me of, walking through the fire a little bit.
Well, the thing I love about that story is that you didn't let fear overcome you. You didn't let it grip you and stop you. Instead you said, what do I need to do here? Okay, I'll make corn muffins. They smell good. They'll take away the little burn smell, and we're just going to make this meal all over again. You didn't allow it to take control of the situation. You control the situation. And I think that's important, when we start things that are new, that we haven't done before. The first thing someone told me you should do is remember that you know how to do this. And remember that you enjoy this. And so that'll take away some of the sting, and that'll allow you to kind of walk through it, because you do know what you're talking about. You do know what you're doing, right? So I like that story.
Thank you. Yeah.
My listening audience, don't let fear stop you from doing the things you want to do. Sometimes it doesn't turn out the first time exactly the way we thought, but just keep going, because what you got from that, Cindy, was a raving review. She absolutely loved the meal. She didn't care that whether or not the first one was burned, or even if she knew it was or not. What she was focused on was the end result, which was a wonderful meal with her and her daughter that reminded her of something her mother did when she was a kid. Mm-hmm. So that's a great story. So
thank you.
Yeah, I have another question. What is it about your business that you find most challenging?
Wow, good question. I think it was a couple things. I think juggling everything sometimes, nothing's going to be perfect. I think that's the other thing too.
Right.
Going back to some points you made earlier, along with the fear, it's learning how to juggle everything.
Right.
And we have to be able to forgive ourselves for that. It's not all going to fall into this perfect excuse me, schedule of things. Even though you may have written it down that way, it's not always going to happen
That's
that way.
true.
Right? Kids get sick, stuff happens,
Right.
your car breaks, whatever. So we need to forgive ourselves first of all,
Right.
and say it's okay. It's Monday. Move on to Tuesday. Whatever. Sometimes that happens, but I think juggling everything, always feeling like there's enough time to devote to that everything's sort of getting a fair amount of time. My business needs time. My child needs time.
Right. Which was the original reason you started this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that payoff that I was going for is actually happening.
Right.
And it's happening most of the time. It's not going to be perfect, and he knows that it's not going to be perfect. But I want to be, at the school functions, and I don't want to miss that stuff, and I want to be able to be there and spend time with them. And also, I want to have time for me. Right. Just me as a person, things that I'm passionate about besides cooking, and things that I care about. And even things as simple as being able to finish a book, or take a walk on the beach are important things that I don't think giving ourselves enough time to do.
You're right.
So I think juggling those things. So that's been the challenging part for me, I think, is allowing myself to make mistakes and being okay with it and moving on and making myself time. To not feel guilty about, I'm taking a minute for myself here.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You have to feed yourself too.
Right. And you know what? That brings up a great point, and that's what we're going to talk about next. As women, sometimes we feel like we need to be all perfect in every single thing, and that we need to be able to juggle 100 balls in the air and not drop one and make everybody happy. And, all the things we're taught or led to believe to be true. So I'd like to talk about that next. You're having lunch with the Finance Bunch. This is Miss Charliene. I hope you're tuning into Accelerated Radio. ARP, because that's where you can hear me every Friday at lunchtime from 12 to 1. You can also catch my show if you missed it on Accelerated Radio. You can catch me on YouTube, and that way you can dial up anytime you want. You can listen to this episode and past episodes. So we're going to get back to Miss Cindy and her business here, and we're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about a wonderful woman who's in business for herself and the reason she started, so she could have time with her son and so that she could create her own destiny. And so that's what we're talking about today. And she's succeeding at that business. So I want to know more. And so let's talk about women for a second. You know, as women, and you and I talked about this, you know, we try to do it all. And, you know, which is fine because we usually can do it all, you know, but that thing that you said about taking time for yourself and not feeling guilty about that, you know, how do you get there? Because I know for me, even though my children are grown and, you know, I still find it hard sometimes to just pull away and just take that time for myself that doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. So how do you do that?
You know, that's a really good question. It's crucial to do that. And I think, you know, and I understand what you're saying about, you know, women especially finding that hard to do. It's tough. I'm a single mom. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of single moms out there. Shout out to single moms.
Shout out to single moms. I'm one too.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, crucial stuff. Spending time with yourself makes you a better mom, first of all.
Yes.
You have to feed yourself. I will actually sometimes schedule it. If I know that I've got a really particularly hairy week and it's going to be one of those, I will take that 2 hours that I have on that Thursday and I will schedule it for me. I will make sure that my child is taken care of and he has a play date or whatever. And, you know, I take that time to whatever it is I want to do that day. Take myself to a movie, you know, read a book, whatever it is.
So you schedule yourself into your calendar.
If need be, yes, I do that.
That's a great way of doing it.
I do that.
Single moms who aren't single and have husbands, whoever you are, ladies that are in business, schedule it. Put yourself on your calendar. I like that.
If need be, you got to do that sometimes.
You should do that.
And also I find that just saying it out loud for me has made a difference. Sometimes, you know, I was for a while, and I'm sure we've all done this, I was the last part of this process.
Of course.
And it's building the business and you're looking after your child and all these things are going on and you're literally putting out fires all the time.
Right.
But at the end of it, you know, there was a point in this where I went, okay, you know what? Things are up and running. You know, you're not there yet, but things are up and running. You've taken care of a lot of things. Let's just stop and breathe and appreciate. I think it's really, you have to stop and appreciate what you have done too.
Exactly.
All those steps.
We spend too much time running to the next thing.
Right.
That we don't take the time to enjoy what is there, what we have, and appreciate that, and just stop for a second. Right. And so even if we have to schedule that time in, I like that. Just get to your calendar, look at it, and schedule some time in. It doesn't have to be a whole day. 2 hours, 1 hour, 4 hours, whatever you can, you know, look at your calendar and see, schedule it and make it you time, not you plus whoever, you time, so you can focus on yourself. I think that's great.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think saying it out loud too. I mean, I will say to my kid, you know what, the next 2 hours are for me.
Yes.
And that has to be okay. He has to...
I was going to say, is that okay?
Yeah. And he has to see that.
Right.
And, you know, he has to see that, you know, Mom, everybody needs time with themselves. So does he. But,
that's right.
You know, he needs to see that. And also I tell my friends, you know, I'll say, I'm not going to be answering my phone tomorrow. Or I'm not going to be texting back and forth tomorrow.
I like that.
I'm just not, because, you know, friends are always texting and calling, you know, and all that. I'll say that. Tomorrow is a me day. I'll call it my me day. And I say, you know, tomorrow between like 4 and 6, I'm not going to be available. And I say that to people. And most of my friends respect that. You really have to shut it down. Sometimes
you do.
You know,
you really do have to shut it down.
People just don't respect their time.
Boundaries.
Boundaries sometimes.
Yeah, because I have a friend who, he does not work on Sundays. He doesn't talk to people on the phone on Sundays. He shuts Sunday down. And I am still still amazed by
I love
that. Right. So I may not be able to shut a whole day down, but I should be able to block off a segment of time one day and just say, I'm not texting, I'm not talking to anyone, I'm not. Yes, I like this.
I mean, just that. Think about just getting off your phone.
Yeah.
I know. I know. People are like falling over right now. But just shut your phone off for a couple hours.
Yeah,
you know, just like
no, literally turn it off. Don't put it on vibrate. Don't put it on, you know, airplane mode. Turn it off.
I'm talking about that button on the side.
That button on the side that goes to power down.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to practice 1 hour at a time.
You'll work into it. It's all right.
I'll work my way up.
You'll work your way up.
But yeah, that's a great, thank you.
Oh my goodness. You're welcome.
Definitely. Oh, we got more questions. So as a successful businesswoman,